Hey YouTube, you're about to listen to my new episode of the Juha Juppi Podcast. To make it easier for you, I've already timestamped it so you know exactly when I answer each question. Please leave a comment timestamping what moment you found most helpful, because I want to know what kind of information truly resonates with you. Thanks a ton, enjoy the episode. So, without further ado, we can start. So the first question that I have pulled up today is from Reddit. How much time do you save by working out at home instead of the gym? And this post it was from 1 year ago, has 850 upvotes, 173 comments, and I'll just read a couple sentences from this very briefly. Shifted to bodyweight fitness and kettlebell barbell training at home a few months ago. I used to spend about 45 minutes on getting ready, travel both ways itself just to go to the gym. I'm not talking about that wasted time though. I've always done full body workouts. It took me about 1.5 hours to complete my entire workout at the gym. This was due to time wasted waiting for equipment to free up, wiping equipment machines, benches, or having forced conversations with people, prolonged rest. Ever since I shifted to doing my workouts at home, I've kept the same exercise movements and used a fitness app to limit my rest periods to just 1 minute maximum between sets. Ever since I finished my workouts, they've been taking me exactly 45 minutes, which is as long as my travel was even allocated to actually getting to the gym. This has made staying consistent much easier, and I've not missed a workout in 3 months now. How much time do you guys complete your workouts in? And how much time are you saving during the workout as compared to going to the gym? Cheers, I hope this post is allowed. Just an old-fashioned discussion. Yeah. So I think this is so I pulled this question not because I think that it's incredibly related to mobility, but I think that it's really important for us as we get to the new year to at least be more consciously aware of these things right now. It is, as of recording, December 22nd, so we have about a week-ish. Before the new year starts, and once the new year starts, people start talking about New Year's resolutions. The gyms are going to be packed, so do you want to be one of those people that are going to be packed at the gym, or do you want to be one of those people that are trying to do home workouts? So I kind of want to just share that. So I kind of want to just share a quick story with you guys about that, at least what has worked for me. I would say what has worked for me has been honestly doing a bit of both. I'm obviously a bit biased because I work at a gym. I work at a center that has a gym. Our area, we have our own kind of private area that is not accessible to all of the members, and if you spend enough time in the building for work, I've just found that easy to use for my own workout. So in that instance, that's probably not the most applicable because I'm just kind of hanging out there. But actually, no, that could be applicable, because if you were to just find a reason to spend more time, say at a community center, at a gym, buddy up, go with a friend, go with your spouse, go with somebody. Even I'm sure that there are apps actually where you can I don't know of any off the top of my head, but I know that there are some apps where you have to show like a picture of you working out every day or things like that. I mean, of course you can cheat the system, but then that kind of defeats the purpose. But anyways, I would say that would be good, just to have someone as a form of accountability to say, hey, let's work out at a gym twice per week, and then twice per week I'm going to do a workout at home. Because personally, I do both. A few days a week, I do train at a gym, and I have access to weights, squat racks, hex bar deadlifts, barbells, dumbbells, all of those fun stuff. But At home, there are some things that I'm able to do a little bit more easily as well. For example, I find doing very mobility centric workouts. And what do I mean by a mobility centric workout? I mean that, let's say I have a day where I'm just like only working on like my hips area. Well, then I'll probably spend a full hour just doing, or no, I'd say like 45 minutes. I spend a solid 45 minutes just doing exercises for my hip, for internal rotation, for external rotation, for increasing my flexion, trying to make those tissues stronger when they're really short, trying to strengthen my ranges of motion when they're really long, trying to improve linear deficiencies, more importantly trying to improve rotational deficiencies. If I'm spending that kind of time, I do find that easier to do at home because a lot of those exercises don't require many pieces of equipment. Sometimes some things are helpful, and for you, what you may want to do is just write a list. If Christmas is coming up for you, if Christmas has passed for you, if Boxing Day is coming up, I'm sure that there are a lot of different things that you could pick up for yourself to actually train at home. I know for myself, the most important pieces of equipment that have helped me train, one is just having a couple mats. I currently don't have really high quality yoga mats. I don't really know if I'll end up getting them in the future. I just have like two or three that I kind of like layer on top of one another. Obviously, having some sort of mat to lay on the ground is pretty important. You could also use a towel, but I find that a mat has been pretty important for me. Um, Having ankle and wrist weights, those have been really important because when I spend time doing those controlled articular rotations, when I'm doing things that require me to challenge my end range rotations, sometimes the difference in improving those end range rotations is not the difference between benching 10 extra pounds or squatting 15 extra pounds or sprinting a 100 meters 1.5 seconds faster. Sometimes if I'm trying to improve even body awareness in those end ranges of motion, if I'm going from hip internal rotation, from hip external rotation maximally into maximal hip internal rotation, sometimes the matter of improving is through going through that same range of motion while wearing a 1 pound ankle weight. Or if I'm doing some shoulder cars and I'm trying to maximally flex and I've reached my end range and I've been doing exercises to where my flexibility and my usable range of motion has improved. If I used to be able to lift my arm 90 degrees in flexion and now I can raise it 110 degrees in flexion, maybe the difference there will be using a wrist or ankle weight of just a couple pounds. That can really help to add some challenge, because when you are working in those really end range rotations, just a couple pounds is really, really drastic. Really drastic. And that's not going to necessarily help your aesthetics, but that will help you feel better. That'll help your joints function better in full ranges of motion. And the better that your joints function in full ranges of motion, the healthier you are. So let's say that let's take two people hypothetically. Let's take one person that only does forward flexion, so they do say like dumbbell raises. They do dumbbell raises for their front delts. They do side raises for their side delts, and they do some other type of thing for their rear delts, and then they do say a military press. Those people may believe that they're getting improvements in all aspects of the shoulders, but they're not improving during all aspects of the joints, because if we're trying to improve our shoulder does more than flex in one direction, flex in another direction, extend in another direction. It also internally rotates and externally rotates. That's why if you were to search on Google for a Cuban press, that's a very common exercise where someone will just hold both of their arms at a 90-degree angle, and they will maximally internally rotate with a small dumbbell between 1 to 3 pounds typically. So they'll maximally internally rotate and maximally externally rotate. That within itself is pretty good. But once again, it's important to really look at all aspects of our body, saying that, hey, I want to improve my upper body strength, so at home I'm going to be doing a lot of push-ups, but are my wrists actually ready for that? And I know that we talked about wrists in correlation to push-ups in yesterday's podcast, but yeah, so wrists and ankle weights have been super important for me. What do I use? I have a pair of 1-pound dumbbells that I use for my upper body, and I have a pair of 5-pound dumbbells that I use for my lower body. So far I've found that has helped. Would I enjoy having a pair of 3-pound dumbbells so I have 135? Yeah, that would be great, but currently I like what I have. I also have a slant board that has been really helpful for me because over the past few months I have been trying to improve some ankle mobility. I know that a few months ago I sprained my ankle twice within a month playing just random pickup basketball. It was the same ankle. I forget which one it was now, but anyway, so I sprained one of my ankles twice in the same month. I went up for a rebound in both instances, and I landed on somebody else's feet in both instances, and then I rolled my ankle both instances, experiencing the same pain. But anyway, so I've used a slant board for a lot of like the rehabilitation process, just doing a lot of ankle pails and rails, doing a lot of dorsiflexion work, doing a lot of ankle inversion and eversion work. That's been really helpful for me. So doing some bodyweight exercises plus having a slant board to further progress my ankle's ability to work when it's really slanted in one direction versus really pointed in another direction. That's been really helpful for me. What else do I have? I don't have a ton. I have one of those typical yoga blocks. I'm not even certain if they're called yoga blocks. I have one of those yoga blocks because that's really helpful for me when I'm doing, say, like a sleeper stretch on my side and I just want to have my head rest on something. Sure, I could use a pillow. Or if I'm doing some work where I'm leaned against a wall and I'm doing some hip work and I'm trying to rotate my hip in certain ranges of motion and I'm trying to make sure that my opposite hip is pressed against the wall. Sometimes I would put a block by my lower back or by my hip and just consciously think about pushing against that while I'm taking the other joint through a range of motion. So that has helped me. What else? Tennis balls, because when you're doing some exercises, sometimes it's important to irradiate while you're doing those certain exercises. And what irradiating is, it's just creating full body tension. The analogy that I've given a lot is like when you watch Dragon Ball Z and they're going into Super Saiyan, they just like tense their entire body up and just start to yell. Things like that. That's a technique that I regularly use, and sometimes holding onto a ball just helps facilitate further higher levels of irradiation. But God, is there anything else? Yeah, what do I have? Slant board, couple blocks. No, off the top of my head, I can't think of any other things. So, yeah, so if I were you, and if you were considering working out at home, what would I probably get? Probably a couple yoga mats, a yoga block, probably then just like a couple different balls, maybe like a lacrosse ball, a tennis ball, potentially if you could if you can get a foam roller. Those things can be helpful when you're doing exercises to promote blood flow to a certain area, to give you a bit more mental relief and to temporarily increase your range of motion. Other than that, yeah, so I think that my real recommendation for you guys would be to find a way to do a bit of both. So if you can find a way to do it twice at a gym per week and twice at home per week, I think that'll be good. That'll help you save some time and also do some stuff at home as well. Yeah, so that's my advice for that.